I'm Scott Fishman.
I'm John Dwoskin.
And this is the 7-Minute Salesman.
Welcome, everybody.
Hey, John, what's going on?
Fish, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing terrific, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for the show today and ready to, hang with you and talk to our listeners.
Well, John, I was going to tell you, I was very excited for this show as well.
Why is that, Fish?
Well, John, the way I see it is that if we do a show like this, it'll be very important for all of our listeners to hear the benefits and features that they can get out of our show and the whole processes and everything that we put forward for them. So I was very excited that we were able to do this.
Nice. Fish, you don't sound like yourself.
Well, John, I'm not. And there's a reason, man. This is the whole reason I wanted to have this show today was I've been noticing a trend, at least, when I'm coaching people lately, is people are trying to stick to the script, man. And It drives me fucking nuts when people do that, when they just sit there and they're reading off a list and they feel like they have to ask every single question and the exact same answer every single time. It's ridiculous. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. It drives me a little crazy too, because I so badly want that person to just kind of surrender, fall into themselves, and get one step closer to finding their voice and being themselves, and talk to the prospects or clients as if they're talking to a friend with some boundaries.
Yes.
And so I have to say it in that way. So let's give some practical tools that they can put into their, mindset and game.
Right. Well, I do want to circle back on something and remind me the boundary thing. That's very important because that's definitely something that a minefield that we can step into. But as far as just being yourself, it's so important. As we talk about your prospects, your clients, your leads that you get, they're getting phone calls, they're having presentations put in front of them, and they're cookie cutter, man. I mean, everyone's doing the same thing. It's not like, it's Coke and Pepsi, it's Lyft and Uber. It's not like we're knocking the cover off the ball as far as being totally unique in what we're selling. If you are, more power to you. You're amazing. But for the most part, you're one of several options. So if we can't differentiate ourselves, you're going to lose. You have to actually set yourself apart. And the biggest thing we can do is sell ourselves.
Yeah. The way I've been saying it through many, many years is, and I think it's so important, is you need to sell the why the company and you need to sell the why you. And people need to feel connected to you. They need to feel on a deeper level that you're accessible and that you're a problem solver. And if you can't be a problem solver if you're just reading from the script, because people can't throw something by you. It'll just throw you for a whirlwind. So,
right.
We're on the same page. So where do we start, Fish? So if I'm sitting here listening and thinking, man, I'm listening to this podcast as a 7-minute community listener, and, I'm in that sounds exactly like me. How do I cross the bridge?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, break it down. Gosh, and you know what? I say first and foremost so often. Next time, I need like a
jolt.
Yeah, literally, get me like an electric fence collar if I say it. But when
I will say this though about first and foremost, it sounds very authoritative in a grounded way. I kind of like it. It gets me very focused to hear what you want to say. So I'm not against it. If you were saying second and foremost, then I would, say maybe that's not the proper way to say that.
So think about this. No matter what you're doing, when you start a new position in sales, you're given, if you work for a company worth its salt and you're selling a product worth its salt, you have a script of some sort that you're given when you begin. And you're supposed to follow that, and that's the play that you're supposed to run. The first thing I would do is take that piece of paper or that document that you're given on your computer and break it down and just turn it into an outline. Take everything that's on there, put bullet points of what you need to talk about, what your benefits are in each bucket, what the features are in each bucket, and where you need to wrap things up, where you should be asking relevant questions, where hopefully the prospect is asking you questions, and give yourself more of a skeleton than a script. I think that's the first thing you should be doing.
I love that. And the one comment I'll make on that is with the mindset of making it your own, using and infusing some of your words, the way that you would say things. And then after you do that, I love the breakdown of that, is I would role play it with somebody, one of my colleagues, my manager, anybody. It doesn't really matter, but role play it back and forth until it starts to feel comfortable.
Yes, we've talked about the importance of role plays before, and it really is so huge because, yes, it is kind of a layup. It's like you're having a scrimmage game, but at the same time, if you're not doing it, you're not getting the reps in, and you're just coming in cold every single time. There is a reason why you have scrimmage games and warm-ups in sports, because you need to get your muscles going. Same thing with sales. We need to flex those sales muscles and show what we're able to do. And whether someone's giving you softballs as far as questions go and not giving you huge objections, or they're just hammering you, either way, at least getting the reps in helps for sure.
Yeah. I agree with every word you just said. I want to back up for 1 second on that topic and just talk about getting into that mindset. A lot of times when we're talking about working out, we're thinking, about our body and working out and weight and, body fat or whatever that is. But a lot of times we're not thinking about working out our mind. Mm-hmm. And it's just as important of a muscle. And so you almost have to include a regimen of here's my workout and then here's my mental workout. And so it's going to be a lot harder to hit this mental workout, to slow down, to role play, to quiet your brain, to even make the list fish that you're talking about is not going to be an easy task. But you have to push through and you have to build that muscle memory if you want to be the type of salesperson that goes from making 50 grand to 100 grand, 100 grand to 200 grand, 200 grand to 300 grand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you want to make more money and take this game seriously, then you got to do what the professionals do. And that is all of these things that we're pointing out today.
Right. You don't necessarily have to work harder. We've talked about it before. You have to work smarter. And this is a way we're able to help you do that. And also, we talked about selling ourselves, right? So we need to come up with our personal brand. And this is funny. You and I might have talked about it recently, where I had to do a personal brand for a training course I was in. And I was given the opportunity to do it in a voicemail form. And what do we know about voicemail is that you can delete and re-record. And rather than, I do this almost every week with you. I'm on the phones nonstop. I've been selling for 20 plus years. But being able to delete and re-record, I think I did it 50 times until I had it perfect. And I still didn't have it perfect. And when I look back, my first one was probably just as good as my last one that I saved. And so I think the big thing when we're doing our personal brand is bullet point that too. You don't need a full script and the reason you should use me is, no, you should just speak about yourself relevantly, fit it in the conversation where you can versus just, feature dumping on yourself.
Yeah. I just want to jump into what you're saying because fitting it in, I think, is key. And that is in direct connection with really keen listening. And the more you can listen, the better you can listen, the more effective a listener you can be. You fit it in through story and through words or through case studies instead of just making it sound like you're an egomaniac talking about yourself. Right. If you can layer in a story, that's Mr. and Mrs. Client. That's funny you mentioned that. When I was working with a previous client who we ultimately ended up closing their deal, and you kind of tell them a story, maybe what they said about you or what their experience was. But be smart about talking about yourself. Otherwise, humility goes a long way, and you still got to be conscious of talking about yourself. But if you do it in a way that it flows with the conversation, then you're much more apt to glue the client to you. Right.
That's true. Although sometimes it feels good to call scoreboard on someone as well, which is
I'm not saying that you don't have to do that, but I just think, going back to just the topic that you brought up initially was a lot of times people say, here's a question, here's a question, here's a question, here's something about the company, here's something about me. Do you want to do business? No, the fuck, I don't want to do business with you. You're a robot. Mm-hmm. But if you do it where they can't even tell it's happening, it's a totally different game.
Yeah, and I was just kind of kidding, but every once in a while when you get someone that's just totally non-responsive and they're just not giving you any sort of respect, that whether you earn it or not, and just saying, hey, it's kind of cute that you closed that much last year because I did that last month.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Absolutely. And I'm not saying don't do that, but just overall, yes, I hear you. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. All right. What else, Fish? What are some other things? Let's keep on breaking down the list. So we make the list, role play, fit it in. Why your personal brand.
Get out of your comfort zone and get out of your little personal space too. I've noticed it's crazy. I've got one of these wireless headsets. Who doesn't? But I mean, it's great that you can move around while you're on the phone. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I notice sometimes when I'm in the flow, I find myself like looking out the window on one side of the building, talking and not even realizing that I got there.
Yeah.
And I'm just flowing in the conversation. And then a couple minutes later, I'm like on the complete opposite side of the building, looking out the other window. Then I'm in my desk or at my desk. Then I'm, all over the place. Get comfortable. And, when you see something that is going on, take those physical cues as well, or physiological cues. When you see that that's working, hey, I had a great phone call when I was like doing this, or hey, I had a great presentation when I did this. Replicate that the next time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's a proven study somewhere. I'm sure you read a book on it at some point. But there is like when you have repetitive actions while you're doing a different task, it definitely helps.
Yeah. I love that. And you're talking about walking around and not knowing how you got there and paying attention to where you're the most effective. I think it's also to pay attention. And some salespeople listening can do this and some cannot. But sometimes people say, oh my God, I'm rushing. I get to the office and da-da-da-da. Like sometimes if you can, and not everybody on this call can, before you even leave the house, make 30, 45 minutes of calls if you need to, right? Sometimes that place to walk around is actually doing it before you even leave the house, before you get distracted at work. And
that's good.
And know the times at work that you can call that you are the most effective, where maybe you can walk around because everybody left for lunch and you brought your lunch. So it's a little bit quieter, but pay attention to the moments that not only you think your clients are around, but the times that you're the most effective.
Right. And that ties into something we talked about before with planning out your next day before you leave the office the day before. If you wake up and I know that I've got to make, these calls to these people coming up this morning, maybe stop listening to Howard Stern in the morning zoo every morning, which is giving you pretty much nothing, no value, and role play out those phone calls. What are we going to talk about when I make these calls first thing in the morning? How's that going to go? What's my plan? What am I going to do if they say this? So figure out how you're going to dodge and parry on those calls so that way you're better prepared and you know where the objections are and how you're going to handle them versus, just coming in, grabbing that coffee, picking up the phone and getting smacked in the face.
Right. Get ready. The average commute is 26 minutes. In 26 minutes, you can role play, mentally get ready for your day, listen to a 7-minute salesman podcast or some type of podcast. Right. Or a 7-minute podcast, any type of podcast. You can listen to a book on tape. Studies show that if you listen or read for at least 6 minutes a day, then your whole day is more effective and you're in a completely different mindset. And so absolutely prep and get ready and educate and grow.
Jon, I think we've given some good nuggets here on how to be yourself. It's weird. You've been yourself your whole life, but sometimes we try to be someone else all the time. Just, revert back to who you are, and it's going to take you far. I promise you.
Yeah. And I would say also, because I've been in many situations in sales, in companies, in corporations, where it's hard to be yourself and find your voice because it takes time and practice to get ahead of real time and learn your craft. But the best advice I can give, and we've talked about this on many shows, practice, 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 but also breathe. Just don't forget to take a deep breath and breathe and just practice and role play and just take a deep breath and just jump in.
Right. And the last piece of advice I'll leave you with is we really do want you to be yourself, but if the real you is a total douche, be someone else.
That's great. Yes, I agree with that. That's great. That's awesome. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Now, no excuses. It's time to put everything you listen to into action. Stop bullshitting yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Stop listening and doing nothing with this information. Take this information, implement it into your day, kick some ass, grow your business, grow your sales, make more money, have more fun, have a better life, period, the end.
What he said.